The story that we tell on Palm Sunday is the central story of our Christian faith. It has been told for over 2,000 years in very different circumstances. Before it was committed to writing in the form of the Gospels, it was handed on by word of mouth among small groups of early Christians, often meeting clandestinely for fear of their lives. It came to be told some centuries later as part of the official faith of the Roman Empire, as the Church began to ally itself with the power structures, an alliance that has only really begun to crumble in our own time. It was told in stone churches in medieval Europe, in the time of Francis and Dominic, of Hildegard and Mother Julian, in that time of great spiritual flowering. It was told in the period of colonization and of missionary work that brought native peoples the good news of Jesus Christ, even as it often wreaked havoc with their lives and their culture. It was told in the pious and industrious world of our Victorian great-grandparents. Today, we tell it in the world of cell phones and the internet, a world much smaller than that of any of our ancestors, yet in a universe far vaster than they could ever have imagined. Very different worlds, and yet the same story binds them all together. They were all touched by the power of this story, the power it has to change lives, to open hearts, to heal wounds, and to confront the darkness that shadows our world, just as it shadowed all those other worlds. Each year it seems to me that the true power of this story lies in its invitation to us to stand in the presence of all that human darkness can do, because only then will we truly recognize the light of Easter for what it is. Not the fairy tale ending to an otherwise tragic fairy story, not the resuscitation of a superhero, but rather an invitation to a whole new way of living and being in the world. We only need to listen to the news each evening to know how powerful the darkness still is. And if we're honest, we know that that darkness is not yet completely absent from our own hearts. In the Palm Sunday Gospel, we can recognize in the cynicism of Pilate, the cowardice of Peter, the fickleness of the crowd, the self-interest of Herod, and the expediency of the religious authorities, reflections of our own frailty, of our own shadow. We are not innocent, and often we too know not what we do. We too stand in need of forgiveness. And that is why we need to stand for a moment with Jesus in the shadow of all that human weakness and sin can do. We need to be honest enough to recognize ourselves among the crowd baying for innocent blood, as one of those who betrayed a friend and slipped away when the going got tough, or who plotted an innocent death to protect our own interests. It happened then, it happens still. But we know the light that shines even in that darkness. And we need to allow this story to remind us about the human capacity for compromise, for expediency and self-interest, because unless we do, we will never recognize the miracle of self-surrender, of integrity, of forgiveness, and of infinite goodness, that in Jesus Christ is the true heart of this story and our story. And we will never truly recognize the whole new world that needs to be uncovered again and again in every age and in every human heart. We stand at the sealed tomb in the shadow of human sinfulness on Palm Sunday, in order that we might truly stand in the light of divine compassion and love on Easter Day. As Jesus goes to the cross, he takes with him all of our sin and dies in order that we might live in the new life his death has made possible. Let us pray once again this Holy Week for the grace to recognize what has been done for us and to live in the light that Jesus has brought into our world, a light that even the greatest darkness cannot overpower.